We're a little late in tying this episode with the theatrical release of The Nice Guys, but it doesn't matter. Now's as good a time as any to give Robert Altman's 1973 feature a chance, with Elliot Gould playing one of the most fun detectives to watch. The Long Goodbye is this week's pick. Welcome to Debt to Cinema. I'm Stephen Montmanex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching the latest releases. However, sadly, put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we missed, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
There's a long goodbye, and it happens every day, when some passerby invites your eye to come her way. Even as she smiles a quick hello, you let her go, you let the moment fly. Too late you turn your head, you know you said the long goodbye.
I'm calling it right now. You loved the opening for this movie. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, it's pretty obvious. You put a cat and some smart dialogue and some good music. Yeah, I'm gonna like a character for sure.
All that stuff was pretty great. Like that cat really jumps around, man.
It's probably the worst part about this film. There's no closure to the cat storyline when it begins with a cat, and
that's the entire point, though.
I've seen The Maltese Falcon. I saw it not too long ago, actually. I think maybe in the last year or two. So I have some kind of association with Raymond Chandler's character of Philip Marlowe. And the way I fell in love with this personification of him is miles apart from what Bogart does in that film.
I think you're talking about The Big Sleep, because Maltese Falcon, that's
The
Dashiell
Big
Hammett,
Sleep.
and that was Sam Spade.
Similar, the fact that it's the character, and it's not really a character, it's Bogart. And those films, they could be sequels, but yeah, you corrected me. But you still have like the smooth talker, just ladies man, can get away with anything personality. But what Elliot Gould does with it here is just more nuanced, more realistic. It's not a noir take. It's just like this isn't neo-noir. This is a fun, little snappy, jazzy mystery thriller set in the early 70s Los Angeles.
He's kind of, how else do I put it? He's kind of the Deadpool of this movie. Yeah, it just seems like that normal guy that happens to know that he's in, a detective movie, and he's kind of very much aware of the cliches, especially when he's being interrogating. He's just messing around, playing around, it just being sarcastic the whole time.
The movie plays around with it too, especially with the way it opens and closes, the use of music too. You were humming it right before the show started. John Williams' song here, titled "The Long Goodbye."
After a while.
They played it like 7 different times.
Those are the only 2 songs in this movie are "Hooray for Hollywood," and then the main theme for this movie. And there's so many variations of it. Like it's nonstop.
Yeah, it's not even scoring. It's just variations on the theme. And you have it diegetic, non-diegetic. You got people singing it and humming it. There's a guy in a bar who's trying to play it on the piano. It's like they were going, this is going to be a radio hit. We already know it's going to sell well. And I have to just assume that was intentional given the kind of films that Robert Altman's made. Speaking of, I'm sure you said something in the intro, but why this film?
The basic reason is we just saw Nice Guys, and even though this one's a bit too late, I've had this on my radar for a long time, but I just haven't had any motivation to get me to see it, and I've been struggling to think of a pick, and I was just thinking, you know what, I just saw Nice Guys, why not? While there is interest in my mind, I may as well just go for it.
That's fair. I don't think I'd ever heard of this film. Maybe I read the title while doing research about The Big Sleep, or just who Raymond Chandler is and his books. But yeah, I was totally thrown off. Really liked it. A real pleasant surprise. I was kind of upset initially when you said this one because it's not on any streaming platform.
In fact,
It's not on TV. It's not anywhere.
No, this was one that I had to get the DVD for, and I'm really, really bummed because, like, I did find it a little visually disorienting, but I'm pretty sure there's a purpose to it. But the jump cuts in this are kind of weird. Like it feels like
they slow down at least.
But it doesn't.
They're
like
pretty
a different
weird.
shot. It feels like an optical zoom, but I can't exactly tell because the DVD was so washed out. Like, this is a very, very early DVD transfer. When people were just happy to port this stuff over onto a disc. Like, so it's not exactly the most detailed, most colorful image, but I found it interesting, at least for a while, just this being part of New Hollywood. But this is something that, with anything that's New Hollywood, I could see myself adjusting to and taking it for what it is on a repeat viewing. It's like something like The French Connection. I did not necessarily dig right away, but I grew into loving that movie. So this could be that, for all I know.
You said the washed out, or you didn't like it? Which one is that?
I don't know. It was definitely.
You just think you're going to grow into the visual flourishes, or the film as a whole?
Presented for me, based on the format that I watched this in, I can't tell if those are optical shots at, like, zooms in there at all, or crops. I really can't tell, but I wouldn't be surprised given the time that this came out during the New Hollywood era.
Yeah, people, hey, look, I got these fancy things I can do on my lightweight cameras. Let's go for it.
No, especially from
Vilmos.
God, I butcher his name every time, but Vilmos Zsigmond.
Vilmos Zsigmond.
Yeah,
he has some
and,
a ton of
Jersey
things.
Girl.
Yeah, Jersey Girl. Some of the shit here that was really impressive to me from just a camera standpoint is the use of the natural lighting and how beautiful it looks. Just in, like, a plain Jane way. It's not beautied up or anything. And the fact that there's so many long shots in the field of view used, especially in Malibu or on the beach at any time, and you get these beautiful shots towards the end of the film too, where that whole reflection of a scene where you have what's his name, where you have Marlowe on the beach, and then you have the husband and the wife doing their scene, and yet you can see both parties at the same time with the sunset and the waves and everything, and just how beautiful it all looks without being showy.
I think just the setting in general, like the locations that they find for this, just the setup for his apartment.
Apartment.
Like, the way that the elevator is, how he walks over, his neighbors that are across, which, I mean,
his neighbors.
Those scenes are fun, but just like little things, like the way that he opens his door, he has to have like like a suitcase. What's the term for it? A U-lock, or a master lock, right? Did you not catch that?
I might be at a loss.
No. On his front door, it basically, he had there was a hole on there. There was a slot, like, it's like the lock that you put on, like, a treasure chest or something, to a master lock. Like, there was a spot there where he would lock it and unlock it just to open the door because it was free to open. There was no deadbolt.
I was busy looking at the little production design things, like the cat door that's labeled El Porto del Gato.
I did think, like, oh, was that a broken piece of glass right there? What was that?
Yeah, it was a broken window, and he put, like, a piece of cardboard over it to make a cat door. Or the Strike Anywhere matches, which just, give this really great dynamic lighting to these shots. I was looking at those kind of things and the outfits and some of the vehicles here. So I don't think I caught the master lock. And like you said, the neighbors, maybe that was in the same shot. Because it's done, as you said, like, they know what kind of movie you're making here. And Robert Altman, he also did, like, Shortcuts in The Player.
That was far later,
maybe
though.
Shortcuts will be on the show in the future. I'm just saying, this is a sign that he's playing with genre and just a cinematic mode on hand and what it can mean in terms of storytelling.
Yeah, this was not understood at the time either, because people hated this when it first came out.
Really?
Yeah, no, like,
it might just because of the character.
I mean, like, it totally tanked. I think there was, like, they held it back for, like, 6 months or something because they were re-editing it or trying to, like, I think most of the disappointment came from the fact that it was promoted as a detective movie. And when I saw the pre-show for Nice Guys at the Alamo, like, that is kind of what I thought I was getting, because they would have trailers for 70s cop dramas. This was one of them. That's part of the reason that I picked it. And yeah, like, it definitely was not at all the movie that I thought I saw when I saw like how it was marketed, but I still really liked it. Like I thought Elliot Gould, like, you know, he was way funnier in this than in the trailer. I mean, especially with that opening scene with the cat, like it's just a perfect way to set up that character and what you're in for. If you're not going to be that interested in the mystery, then at least you have that.
Yeah, the mystery is not so great here. It's about the character and what he brings to it. In particular, I love the way narration is used here. How it's basically just him talking to himself under his breath, like muttering things. The way the sound design is done.
Like I would not think of it as narration for a second. Like it was kind of tripping me out the way that you were saying that. It's like what? But I mean, sure, that is fair. You know, normally we do get some form of narration. I have not seen The Big Sleep in forever. So,
well, I mean, most noir, follows the trend in Sunset Boulevard or Maltese Falcon or The Big Sleep or the Third Man, just any of the big ones back then. And it's very obvious that the actor came back and was sitting in the studio saying these lines to bring this extra atmosphere to what was going on and make it more dramatic and more like reading a novel. And here he's just like, oh man, his shoes are untied, or like, oh man, I forgot to pay my phone bill. Except it's dialogue stuff. It's progressing the story. Like, oh, she didn't know what she was talking about. Like, oh, he's not gonna like the cat food. That's where most of the comedy came for me, because once I noticed, at first I was like, is this narration? And then I looked at his lips. I'm like, no, he's actually talking
the whole time. And I mean, that's why it's funny. Like, this. I hesitate to say real world, but like, it's a very cynical outlook on just like, everyday shit that you see people like doing that is seemingly stupid. I mean, honestly, I can relate to that. You just, whether you're on the bus or you're in the supermarket and you just see, I don't know, someone, or even when you're working like a shit job, like you're just kind of amazed at how stupid people are, and you always have to like throw some sort of sarcastic comment to yourself or observation just to not go crazy. And that's, it's fucking awesome that this does that, and that I can relate to that, especially.
It does a couple other things I really like too. Just the way that it starts, the pace to getting into the mystery, how everything ties together. All the jokes we're talking about the cat, and really the inciting incident is that he has to go and get cat food. And so he runs into that black dude at the grocery store, and they have their little conversation about, don't you have a cat? No, I got a woman. And then sure enough, he gets he gets arrested, and then sure enough, he sees the same guy in prison. And it's like there's no small characters. Every piece of dialogue has a purpose. Everything has a reason. It's not just for the sake of being. And it was just really smart screenplay, just the way the world works, how things bleed naturally into the other. It becomes less of a thing the longer you get into it, the more characters that are introduced, especially probably the most bizarre thing in this film, the Jewish hood who has the Italian and the Spanish and the white guy all working for him, so he can have like the multicultural gangster experience or something. I really didn't understand his character and his role in this film. I guess he's just supposed to be the typical sense of danger that's there to bring like something scary to the story.
I mean, it did feel it does end up being entirely pointless, but there are like some great tense moments that you get from that, particularly revolving around that bottle. Yeah, and it's just like, see, that's what I do to people I love. I don't even like you.
It's still something that you've seen before, but
it's brutal.
The way that scene plays out it's gonna grab your attention. I was falling asleep a little bit. I took 2 halves. I kind of ate in the middle, and right around that moment, I was kind of getting the itis. Like, oh, I could really use a nap, and I was like, nope, I'm up. I'm totally up right now. I could use a drink too. Speaking of pretty graphic for the rest of the film.
Yeah, speaking of the gangster, though, I mean, at least you caught this. One of the henchmen is an uncredited Arnold Schwarzenegger. You caught that, right?
Oh yeah, that guy was huge.
Yeah. Like, I thought for a second.
Was that actually him?
That's actually him. Yeah, same thing. Like,
no way.
I didn't find out until I read it later. Okay, I saw it on Wikipedia, but yeah, apparently that is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's credited as Augustine's henchman on the page, and it says he's uncredited in the movie.
Yeah, it says it on Wiki, but that could be one of those false things on the internet.
So yeah, I'm gonna check that. It really does look like him.
Well, just if you have a bodybuilder and everyone else in the movie has a standard body type, it's going to look like a certain character. Yeah, it's him on there, so yeah, I guess that's him.
Right.
I might have to go back and freeze frame.
I mean, yeah. To be fair though, on this movie, like, it's really the best thing that you can say about it is, Elliot Gould as Philip Marlowe. Like, I don't have that much praise for it. Like, I really liked it, but it's really because of just
Him and
watching
what he
him on
brings.
screen and what.
And the way it's shot and some of the flourishes. But yeah, it's pretty forgetful. A really boring mystery.
Yeah.
Because for how much they pull you along and the red herrings and the where it's going, it kind of it just sucker punches you into an obvious ending. It doesn't actually lead anywhere. It feels like a waste of 2 hours.
Well, I do think that getting there though and watching Philip Marlowe
getting
get
there
yeah.
is yeah.
Like, little things
because
like
he's such
him just like going around the clinic and how he finds how he ends up finding Sterling Hayden, like, scenes like that, like, are a lot of fun, but it's really the comedy of this movie that does shine.
For like the random security guard that does impressions, like his Jimmy Stewart cracks me up. Like,
Yeah.
just like for a second I was thinking the first time we met him, I was like, is that the killer? It has to be someone that zany. Like, if this was a Murder, She Wrote episode or Columbo, he would have been the killer, or Monk. It's like, you don't throw someone into the movie like that for no reason. But no, yeah, they did for no reason. Yeah, it's a fun movie. I don't know if I can say I can recommend it.
I can't give it.
It just goes on and on.
I can't give it the buy it for a dollar rating, but I can definitely.
Yeah, me either.
I can definitely appreciate
check
this
it out.
as a new Hollywood film because, like, that's the entire point of that movement is just disowning everything that came beforehand from Hollywood, going against those rules. Shit like Easy Rider, French Connection, all that. I mean, yeah, this definitely goes against all the standard detective or film noir film rules that you're used to, and especially when you get to that ending, which I'm not so sure that I'd say that's in character, but like, thinking about it later, just with Philip Marlowe's cynicism in this movie, I can kind of see it making sense that he just snaps like that at the end. But
I don't even mean the finalities, which I don't like. It's just
no,
like,
no,
he was alive the whole time type of thing.
But I'm
Or
just
like,
saying,
where'd the money come from?
well, part of it is like you are used to a certain formula, but this is very explicitly going against it, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense. Kind of probably mostly for the sake of shock value, I'd say, especially with that bottle. I mean, that wasn't necessary at the end of the day, but it was effective. I could see this still being polarizing regardless, I guess, of what time it comes from, because evidently it was polarizing back then. But I mean, I don't know. I would imagine that this is like considered like one of those great films, like on one of those lists. I could imagine myself being compelled
Best
to
LA
revisit
set
this.
noirs post 1950.
I can imagine myself being compelled to visit this for some reason, like years down the line, and finding more out of it. But I mean, yeah, not as it stands, like on a first viewing, yeah, I definitely did enjoy it. I wasn't wowed by it, and I really, for a genre that I'm typically not seduced by, there are exceptions, but like I was glad that I had a memorable character that I could enjoy watching, that I actually wanted to see what he was going to do next in the situation. Like, it wasn't just that I believed he could handle it, but it was like I wanted to see like what his tactic was. It's more enjoyable to me than watching Humphrey Bogart, who just stands around very confident and like he gets awesome lines of dialogue. But this was far more fun. Like, just the unpredictability of Elliot Gould was much more entertaining to me.
Yeah, it's just the merriment here. Like Bogart, it's like you said, regardless of the situation you get in, you're like, he's gonna handle it. He's gonna be cool as a cucumber. He has the bullets already ready in his gun. He's gonna, like, I don't. Besides the end, Elliot Gould, this version of Marlowe, it's like, is he even really a real detective? Does he have a gun? Is that what he does? Like, you kind of question the fact that it's an established character. It's someone that's already beloved in cinema at this point for what, 30 years or so.
Something like that. Like, this is based on a novel that was set in the 50s, but I mean, yeah, they clearly had to like fine tune it to make it fit today. So there's no way that this is a faithful adaptation. I'm sure of that.
Well, I don't know, but this is probably like the last film made with a chain-smoking main character, which is basically off-putting by today's standards. He probably like finishes, I don't know, like 14 cigarettes plus. It's pretty interesting, especially because in the Oceans movies, Elliot Gould always has a cigar in those. So maybe that's just the kind of person he is. It's something that he does personally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen him in many things. It made when I was watching this because I'm familiar with him as what's his character's name in the Oceans films?
I think there was issue with just casting Elliot Gould in this. Is that I think the producers or somebody didn't want him because he's had a history of being trouble to work with. And like evidently, from what I'm reading, is that he didn't do a film for 2 years until this one. So yeah, I don't know what the history is. I don't know what I've seen him in.
He said he's in the Oceans films. His name is Ruben, and a lot of things. He has like 150 plus credits on IMDb. He's American History X in a role I can't remember. He's doing a lot of TV now. But let me see. I know there's some other things that I have to imagine that I've seen him in the 70s, 80s era because despite if this was in fact a flop or if no one liked it at the time, you can't fault his performance. Like, it's the reason, or I'm with you, I would probably watch this again in the future, and there's nothing there besides him and his characterization. And so I do want to know what else he's in. Just he's probably one of those unsung heroes, like the guys that's in the picture that you don't really watch it for. I don't know. I really like some of the production design here. I already talked about, like the cat door. When he's drinking with the author, there's the ice cube that like encases the bottle of liquor, which is something that I've never seen. I already talked about the nude neighbors, which are I think they're supposed to be a distraction for us, but they're also a distraction for characters.
Yeah.
All, like the hoods, they're too busy staring at them. The beginning, you're too busy staring at them. If they were a little earlier in this film, it'd be like The Nice Guys. Like I recommended that film to someone just the other day. They're telling me that they saw Money Monster. I was like, oh, you should have seen The Nice Guys. There's nice tits in the first 5 minutes. Like, you get your money's worth. It's like that doesn't happen enough, and it almost happens here. Like other film that comes to mind is 16 Candles. Like at the beginning of that, something similar happens. I really liked him here. Like he was the film, really.
It's hard not to. I mean, in those first like 20 minutes, like you could show this movie. Just you can blindly put this on in front of somebody that does not know what it is, and I'm sure just because of the cat, especially since we're in a culture that loves cat videos, they're gonna be drawn into it right away. Like I'm pretty confident in that.
I actually did a rewound the beginning because I wasn't sure if it was a single take or not. It obviously isn't, but just the fact that most shots here are in like the 20 to 40-second range, and just how confidently it's shot in the beginning, and the blocking and the use of the zoom cameras and the lenses and anything that's going on, and like I said earlier about the matches and the natural lighting, it kind of plays with your mind. It makes you think that it's happening in real time because it's just so fluid. The car sequences, even though there's like one or two, the one like stunt that's really happening here on the beach, which had to be a bitch to shoot. Like that was probably one of the longer shots in the film. And you have your actors out in the ocean with the undertow at night.
And especially,
like, that had to suck.
Like I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably an extra or body double because what I read is that Sterling Hayden just showed up like really drunk or really high. That apparently their scenes, him and Marlowe, were improvised.
Actually drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was actually. I mean, hey, in true New Hollywood fashion, like where they just do things as raw and real as possible. Yeah, like he showed up really fucked up.
You seem like it. I mean, his character just took me out of this movie, to be honest.
Same.
I didn't understand that whole plot line, everything that was going on there. Like up until that moment, I was totally for it in this world. And then you get this author who has such a severe case of writer's block that he's become like a drunken asshole, and then you have his antagonist, the doctor, and their party, and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't What's the mystery again? The missing money,
Yeah.
the missing guy, the dead wife. Which one is it?
It kind of ends up feeling, well, I don't know, not somewhat unnecessary, because like it does pay off. But yeah, like I'm there with you. Like I was slightly disappointed there too, especially since, you know, I love Sterling Hayden. Like, you know, he's in some of my favorite movies. You know, he's great in Doctor Strangelove. I like his bit role in The Godfather, the first one. You know, he's also the lead in Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, and he's awesome in that movie.
Like I'm familiar with some of the films you just ran off, but I didn't know who he was. He seemed like someone new to me.
Yeah, and I could
basically looked like a Orson Welles like stand-in.
I didn't realize that was him really until I saw the credits. Because he was fucking drunk. You know, he had a beard. Like, it also, then again, this is older Sterling Hayden. It took me forever to figure out who he was in The Godfather, even though I'd seen it so many times.
Like, the only name besides the main cast that I even know from that film is Abe Vigoda, and it's just because of how bizarre his name is. There's a band named after him,
and also because you probably saw Good Burger a lot as a kid,
and also Mouse Hunt. He's in that as well. It's like we need a really old guy. Okay, let's get Abe. He's been in Hollywood forever, guys. Follow his lead. That's how you get jobs in the business. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
We're available on iTunes, YouTube, TuneIn, Stitcher, and constantly looking to expand to other platforms.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the lovely site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.
Don't you try to be nice to me now. I'm leaving and it's goodbye. I ain't running after you in the rain when you're catching a plane. No more. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. I'm through this time and I mean it. In fact, I don't know if I ever even did like you, except for your body. Your body was good. Well, let's say so long.